The Nigerian government has rejected its designation by the United States as a country of particular concern over alleged religious freedom violations. The Nigerian government stated that the designation is based on misinformation and faulty data. President Trump has placed Nigeria on a list of countries that the United States says have violated religious freedom and has asked for the Department of Defense to prepare for a possible fast-track military action if Nigeria does not address the killing of Christians. He has also halted aid flowing from the United States to Nigeria. Defending Nigeria's record, Information Minister Mohammed Idris said President Trump's threats of military action were unwarranted and misrepresented Nigeria's complex security challenges. The Nigerian Chief of Defense Staff noted that Nigeria has faced terrorism, not persecution of Christians, and called for the US to help in the fight against Islamic insurgents. We are now joined by Osanyin Taiwo. He's a policy and strategic implementation expert. He joins us live from Abuja in Nigeria. Thank you very much for joining us, Osanyin. How credible are Donald Trump's claims here?
Thank you for having us down. It's a pleasure always having me on NewsX World. Let me break down some very certain statistics and information for the world. Firstly, Nigeria is, and as I said earlier, sometime on your channel some days back, Nigeria is a cross-cultural and religious group it's a cross-cultural and ethnical population. That's the first thing. The country is made up of about 50% of the Muslims, about 45% of Christians, and less than 5% of other religion. Having stated that, it's very important that when we break this down in regions, we have more Muslims in the northern region, more Christians in the southern region of Nigeria, and a mixture of both in the north central of Nigeria. Now, where are these threats? These threats are from the northern, majorly from the northern part of Nigeria, from the northeast to the northwest, and then to the north central. When we talk about the north central, one or two states that come to the frontier are Benue and Plateau states. Benue and Plateau states are presumptuously domiciled by Christians. And this is where we have most of these killings. So this could be perceived as persecution or genocidal in a sense of it. In the north central, we have kidnappings and terrorism happening around different parts. We have the elders farmers clashes happening based on the economic and occupational conflict. We have in the northeast the same thing, and also some sort of terrorism happening and kidnappings happening. So when we narrow it down, a lot of people might say that yes, in the south, the Christians are not frightened. Christians are not threatened. Yes, that assertion may be relatively right. But on the north, in the flip side, with the northern part, and most especially in the north central area of Nigeria, that assertion may be wrong. And that might actually go down to amplify the Donald Trump's allegation of genocide, because we've seen it happening in Benue and in Plateau State, which are states that are predominantly occupied by Christians. Having said that, is it important that Donald Trump, as Nigeria needs assistance from the United States? I said it earlier, certainly yes. Do we need collaboration? Yes. Now, when America begins to threaten Nigeria on aid and cutting off of aid, well, it is time for Nigerians and African countries to understand that they are not puppets in the hands of the global northern countries, whereby they run out hand to mouth, getting funds or relying on so much aid from the international or the global north countries. Now, Africa is rich enough, Africa is sustainable enough, but where there's a need for necessary collaboration, then Africa can rely on the international global north countries to
Okay.
assist and support.
Osanyin, of course, Nigeria has only responded with words so far, responding to the claims and saying that Donald Trump, his claims are based on disinformation. Do you think Nigeria will respond further diplomatically to avoid these sanctions or loss of aid?
Surely, negotiations and conversations are ongoing right now. Just on Tuesday, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has initiated a committee and the security chiefs to start immediate screening of ambassadors because Nigeria did not have till now any ambassador representing the country in any part of the world, which is a very significant lacuna in international relationship with
Okay.
every country. So that's going on right now. Certainly, when we have ambassadors in this country, especially the United States, there will be more of closer conversation and a broader perspective of the major issues happening in the country.
Yes, thank you very much. Do stay with us, Osanyin, as we have further updates from Africa. Satellite images analysed by researchers appear to show mass burials in El Fasher, Sudan's Darfur region, following the Rapid Support Forces takeover of the city. The findings published by the Yale School of Public Health's Humanitarian Research Lab indicate at least 2 suspected mass grave sites, one near a mosque and another beside a former children's hospital, reportedly used as an RSF prison. The discovery adds to growing evidence of widespread violence as Sudan's 2-year civil war deepens. Local reports and the United Nations confirmed a drone strike at a funeral in El Buyad, killing at least 40 people. Meanwhile, Amnesty International urged urgent protection for civilians in Kordofan, warning that RSF attacks are escalating in the region after the militia seized the town of Bara and besieged Kadguli. Amnesty's Secretary-General Agnes Callamard said the world must not ignore the worsening humanitarian crisis as atrocities spread beyond Darfur. Osanyin, I just want to focus on that last statement. Of course, Sudan now has been at the forefront of people's minds when it comes to African news. And of course, many people have been seeing images of these mass graves, these satellite images, because of course it is very hard to get information out of the region currently. And to Amnesty International's Secretary-General Agnes Callamard, she said that the world must not ignore this worsening humanitarian crisis. How is the humanitarian crisis worsening in Sudan, and what can the world do to improve it?
It's very important to state that the Sudanese war is long overdue, and there's a need for immediate international rescue for civilians in Sudan. Allegations are rising, stating that about 460 people have been buried in mass graves. And this is no longer a conversation of should we or should we not. It's a conversation of immediate action. The United Nations must take immediate step. No matter what the Sudan, this civil war is long overdue, 2 years, and it seems like this country doesn't know what they want. I would only appeal the international organizations and other collaborative nations in the African region to swing into action for all necessary peace. We've had a lot of verbal ceasefire. We've had a lot of conversations on resolving this conflict for years. But this seems like this is unending. But killing innocent people, this is an heinous crime to humanity, and this must stop. And that is why I call on every international body that is necessary for peacekeeping to swing into action, because Sudan is becoming a menace to the African society.
What can blocs like the African Union or organisations like the African Union or ECOWAS play in this?
Well, it's very simple. Well, most of the time, there's this constraint from these regional organizations, that is African Union, Sudan. But I think it is time for the African Union and the ECOWAS and other African regional organization to come together and speak in one voice, because this is no longer a conversation of diplomatic approach. This, I think, this has to go into a form of force. And if we remember what happened in Liberia some few years ago, when Nigeria had to swing into action, bringing in ECOMOG, and then with support from Africa countries, I think this is necessary at this point in time. But unfortunately, what we see today is that while Sudan is facing this crisis, other African countries are also facing their crisis. So it may be a bit difficult for Sudan to get a bit of resolution and a bit of immediate conflict rearrangement or conflict resolution. But having said that, this crime is no longer a thing that must be verbally resolved. It's a conversation that must be immediately resolved through either relatively use of force or the use of proper diplomatic negotiations.
Okay, Osanyi and Taiwo, thank you very much for joining us here on NewsX World. Pleasure to get your insight. We now have some breaking news, and authorities in Ethiopia's Afar region says forces from the neighbouring Tigray launched new attacks, marking the latest flare-up in tensions within the country. The Afar Regional Administration accused the Tigray People's Liberation Front of crossing into Afar territory, seizing 6 villages and bombarding civilian areas with mortars and heavy artillery. The reported assault raises fears of renewed fighting between the two regions, which were major fronts during Ethiopia's 2020 to 2022 civil war that left tens of thousands dead and displaced millions. While a peace deal signed in late 2022 ended large-scale hostilities, sporadic clashes have continued in the contested border zones. We will, of course, bring you more on that once we get it. And now moving on,